Villain once meant a farmhand, a man of the villa. In Latin villānus, it described rural workers bound to land, not masters of evil. But through centuries of class language and moral projection, villānus became base fellow, then wicked man. Today, we trace how a word for peasants came to personify darkness itself. The root lies in villa, a Roman country estate. A vilainus, our one saint for the centuries AD, was simply someone who lived and worked there. When the empire's estates became medieval manors, the Latin passed into Old French vilain and Middle English villain. These meant serf, bound to the soil, owing labor rather than coin. Elites began to contrast the nobleman with the villain who toiled, spoke rough dialects, and lacked polish. Linguistic contempt hardened into moral judgment. Rustic, rude, base, bad. By the 13th century AD, manuscripts already used vilain to mean ignoble or wicked. Feudal society fixed people in ranks: clergy, nobility, commoners, serfs. In court rolls, a villain could not own land outright or sue a lord. Documents of the 1200s AD record villainy as both legal status and insult. Thus, a neutral noun became a social slur. Linguists call this pejoration, the drift of meaning from neutral to negative. Words such as churl, boor, and knave followed the same path. Language itself preserved hierarchy. The Renaissance theater gave villain a stage. Elizabethan scripts used the term for any schemer whose actions drove conflict. To help illiterate crowds, costuming signaled morality. Dark garments, crooked posture, secret monologue. In the 18th and 19th centuries, melodrama exaggerated these cues. The sneer, the cape, the hiss from the pit. The word's moral sense became visual shorthand. Audiences no longer needed genealogy. They could see evil, from farm to footlights. As drama spread, English coined relatives: villainy, evil deed; villainous, wicked; vilify, to defame. Vile shares the same Latin root vilis, meaning cheap or low worth. The web of terms reveals how economic value slid into moral value. To call someone low was to say both poor and bad. Moral judgment and market judgment merged linguistically. Printing and later film globalized the archetype. Gothic novels gave us the brooding nobleman, silent cinema, the mustached schemer, comics, the costumed nemesis. Each medium simplified motive for clarity. The villain's darkness let heroes shine. Psychology soon joined the script. Freud's concept of projection explained why we externalize our shadow selves. Carl Jung called the villain the shadow archetype, the part of the psyche we deny. Thus, language and psychology met. Villain as mirror of collective guilt. Why we need villains? Storytellers classify villains by function. Tyrant abuses lawful power. Trickster creates chaos for play. Monster embodies fear itself. Ideologue believes cruelty serves a cause. Corporate or technocrat harms through systems, not rage. Sympathetic or tragic villain, one whose motive we share but methods we reject. Every era elevates its own villain. Medieval heretic, Enlightenment tyrant, industrial baron, digital manipulator. Beyond fiction, villain labels real people. Headlines frame scandals through moral theater, victims, heroes, villains. The pattern simplifies complex systems into personalities. Sociolinguists note that such framing sustains attention but flattens nuance. To villainize opponents in politics or media is to trade analysis for emotion. Not every rival is a villain. Antagonist, gachat's force opposing the protagonist. Anti-hero, das flawed main character. Anti-villain, moral opponent with good intent. And beware confusion. Vilify means to slander. Villainize is informal, meaning to portray as evil. Accuracy keeps discussion ethical. Villain endures because stories and societies need contrast. Moral language evolved to police behavior, then to entertain, then to analyze psyche. The farm worker's label became a universal shorthand for boundary breaking. In one word, we hear both history's class contempt and art's need for shadow. So, villain, born in the fields, crowned on the stage, revived in film and code, reminds us that language records judgment. When we say villain, we echo centuries of fear and fascination. Next time on the printing press, scapegoat, when blame takes a body.